When our pets are in pain, we want emergency attention, but that's become something of a crisis in itself. Were you aware that people were having more trouble getting appointments, and particularly emergency appointments for their pets?
Over the last 2 years? Oh, for sure, yeah.
Come on, Mickey Pants.
This week, animal ERs and vets facing a staffing crisis with sometimes tragic results.
The promise of the social network was for greater human connection. But 2 decades have produced a lot of collateral damage.
Like, there are times where I get really anxious on social media and then want to take a break, and that causes even more anxiety and makes me want to go back into, I guess, a toxic space.
We look at the damage done and the confusing path to correct social media.
Cities across the country are coming to hard terms with crime and its impact on both business and quality of life. Did things change in the Tenderloin District? This week, we return to San Francisco's infamous Tenderloin District and get an unexpected update on crime in the big city.
The police now are more motivated because they know if they arrest someone, they're going to be prosecuted.
Welcome to Full Measure. I'm Sharyl Attkisson. In America, we love our pets. During the COVID shutdowns, it seemed more people loved them than ever, and that comes with a hard reality. Across the country today, there are more sick animals than there are veterinarians to care for them. That's today's cover story, how the pandemic pet boom has been followed by the great veterinary shortage. These 2 puppies got a home with Deborah Forbes and her husband in June of last year. A few weeks later, Tanner, on the left, started crying and didn't want to be touched. The regular family emergency vet turned him away.
I don't understand how you can call yourself an emergency vet and you can't take someone who was having a severe emergency with an animal. It wasn't like their parking lot had 40 cars in it. It just looked like a normal day, and they just weren't taking clients anymore. So then we had to go to the other one that I was not familiar with, and they were very short-staffed as well. And I think because they were short-staffed, I think, they did an x-ray. Okay, he didn't break anything. He's fine. Send him on his way.
But Tanner wasn't fine. His legs became paralyzed and he started bleeding profusely from a cut near his mouth. It took weeks to get an appointment with a specialist and even longer to finally get an accurate diagnosis from his regular vet. By then,
we had no choice but to put him down because he was going to choke to death if we didn't.
So sorry. Is there a thought that if they had caught it, been able to treat it when you caught it or when it was finally caught, that there could have been a different outcome, or not really?
I think that we probably would have handled everything differently. Would that have affected the outcome? I don't know. I think that early on, if we could have known this and gotten that detected and had someone who knew what they were talking about, that there's definitely a possibility that something more could have come for him.
Around the same time, Leslie Howlett was in Elgin, Arizona, trying to get urgent care for her dog Solomon. It would be the second time that year that local vets turned her away.
My dog Solomon overnight developed a lump on his chin, which was growing rapidly. So I called several vets around town or in the vicinity, and no one could get them in. So I decided to go to emergency. So I started calling emergency vets in Tucson, which is an hour away from us.
When she finally found an emergency clinic that would see Solomon, it was under COVID restrictions that she says left her waiting in the car with no information for 1 hour, then 2, then 4.
So I was in the car a total of near 12 hours sitting in that parking lot in the dark in a neighborhood that wasn't the greatest. So I didn't want to get out of the car. And I was stuck. I didn't know to go home, to go get something to eat or wait. No one would give me any information about whether to stay there or leave or anything.
What are your thoughts about this as a trend in the industry, kind of what the impact of this may be?
I don't know what's happening with the veterinarians lately, but even the equine vets, everyone is hard to get. They're backed up for weeks, where 2 or 3 years ago, I could call and get in that same day. So I don't know if there's a shortage of vets or COVID people bought too many pets during COVID and everybody's trying to get in?
It's all of the above. Across the country, animal owners are getting turned away by short-staffed veterinary offices and emergency clinics. Patients are frequently sent hours away to neighboring states to look for care, but still coming up empty. Were you aware that people were having more trouble getting appointments, and particularly emergency appointments for their pets?
Over the last 2 years? Oh, for sure, yeah. So this is where we would perform procedures.
Kayleen Glore is co-medical director of Clarendon Animal Care in Arlington, Virginia, where 14 doctors have seen thousands of pets and started finding it more and more difficult to get critically sick animals into emergency hospitals.
So in this area, we're lucky. We've got a lot of 24-hour emergency referral hospitals, and I would say it's not uncommon for us to call 3 to 4 of them to find out where we can get a patient transferred.
Is that new compared to 5 years ago?
Absolutely. It happened pretty quickly. It was by May to June of 2020, it was very apparent that it was hard to get into places. I used to work at one of the local emergency referral hospitals. I have a lot of their staff on my cell phone, and so texting to be like, please, 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 I've got a patient intubated on the table. It needs a ventilator. How do we make this work? And so trying to pull some strings that way.
On the supply side, the veterinary industry already had a high turnover rate. Each year, 1 in 6 vets and 1 in 4 technicians leaves their job, and veterinarians commit suicide at a greater than average rate. During the pandemic, many say they faced bullying and abuse from customers frustrated by everything from cost of care to COVID measures.
And then a lot of people just got kind of either scared of going into work or didn't feel comfortable or just flat out burnt out. And a lot of people left the industry.
That was recently published.
Nationwide, the veterinary profession is sounding the alarm.
If you didn't know, the veterinary industry is facing a crisis as it relates to an increasing demand and perhaps a lower supply, relatively speaking, than has ever been.
Beyond the pets we love, the veterinary shortage has become a critical issue for large animals and livestock that we count on for our food supply.
It is a critical shortage, and we are losing animals because we just have no one to come to the farm in time to save them.
Welcome.
The issue was raised when a Department of Agriculture official testified at a Senate hearing late last year.
What are your views on the veterinary shortages, and how open are you to additional conversations on how we can get more veterinarians into rural America?
It's interesting because every young person I talk to who's interested in animal science, I beg them. I literally beg and plead with them to look at large animals.
Come on, Mickey Pants.
The bottom line, staffing isn't up to par with demand. And according to one projection, by 2030, we'll need 133,000 more technicians and 41,000 more vets. By way of advice, Glore says you may not always have a heads up, but if your pet is showing signs of illness, don't wait until it turns into an emergency.
And I would also say make sure that you have a relationship with a general practice ahead of time. So don't wait to adopt a pet and then seek veterinary care because there's a problem.
Sadly, there are many stories of pets who have failed to survive the shortage, but we're happy to report that Leslie Howlett's dog, Solomon, did get the emergency surgery he needed. Today, he's doing just fine. Some states are getting creative. A proposal in California would give up to $150,000 in student debt relief to licensed vets in exchange for working at a California animal shelter for at least 5 years. Next up, social media and teen anxiety. "20 years ago, the social network called MySpace went online and changed the world. Facebook soon eclipsed the market, other players entered, and today more than 4.5 billion people use some form of social media. With that comes the debate over the good versus harm it's done to a generation and whether and how to regulate it. Lisa Fletcher reports.
Lauren Williams is a Washington, D.C. high school senior. For years, she's struggled with anxiety and panic attacks, often amplified by what she was experiencing on social media.
Like, there are times where I get really anxious on social media and then want to take a break, but then I get more anxious because I feel like I'm missing out, or there are things on social media that are going on that I'm not able to see, and that causes even more anxiety and makes me want to go back into, I guess, a toxic space.
Recent studies have found that young adults who use social media are 3 times as likely to suffer from depression, putting them at higher risk of suicidal thoughts and behaviors. What are some of the glaring negatives of social media that trigger your anxiety or panic attacks?
You feel like you want to post everything you're thinking online. We're such an influential generation on each other that we can get inspired by each other, but then sometimes we compare. And that causes a lot of anxiety for me too, feeling like I'm not looking like the pages that I like on Instagram, or even my friends who I see in person.
Turns out Facebook did an internal study on how its photo sharing app, Instagram, affected its young users and found problems. A whistleblower exposed evidence that the company found sizable mental health impacts, especially among teenage girls. The company's share price fell after the whistleblower, Frances Haugen, testified before Congress. Meta, its parent company, now facing a class action lawsuit from angry investors. Dr. Mary Alvord is a psychologist in Maryland. She's been treating patients for 4 decades and specializes in helping kids and teens. What is it about social media interaction with young people that brings that angst to a clinical level?
I think it's the immediacy, and also you are behind the scene in a sense. So you might say something that is mean, maybe inappropriate, and you don't have to actually face the person. So that's one thing that we've observed, is that there's a barrier that they see as protection, and so they might, not be as kind as they would in person.
Lawmakers in Washington have been railing at big tech and worrying about social media for years.
Facebook needs to be doing much more to protect our children.
But when it comes to action, they've done almost nothing, meaning the social media companies are still governed by rules created back in 1996. Under something called Section 230, sites like Twitter and Facebook aren't responsible for most of what users post. But cases now being considered by the U.S. Supreme Court seek to challenge those protections. One brought by the family of an American college student killed in a terror attack in Paris, who wants to sue Google over YouTube's recommendation algorithm they say helped extremists spread their message. Frustrated by inaction at the national level, many states are stepping up.
To the social media companies who have been reckless in protecting our youth, Utah parents are putting you on notice.
Utah Governor Spencer Cox says he'll sign any bill that holds social media companies accountable. Currently, the legislature is considering a law to prevent minors from creating social media accounts without parental consent.
I suspect that 10 years from now, we'll look back on this the way we look back on opioids, the way we look back on tobacco use, and just say, what were we thinking? I can't believe we did this to our kids.
Why do you think we're seeing so much more regulatory activity at the state level?
States have realized that they can kind of step up and take the lead here. And so there's a real appetite, I think, for new regulations.
Dr. Scott Babwa-Brennan studies policy for technology and the internet at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Is it a failure at the federal level that there hasn't been a national standard created?
It depends on who you ask. Even amongst lawmakers at the state level who are supporting state, for example, privacy comprehensive legislation, some kind of suggest that it would be preferable to have a national standard.
But one of the key findings of his research is that in writing new rules for the internet, states are pulling in different directions. Florida, Texas, and other Republican-led states have proposed or passed laws they say protect free speech by limiting big tech's ability to remove content, while Democrat-run New York and California have pushed platforms to make it easier to report what they deem to be hate or false speech.
The right wants there to be less moderation. The left wants there to be more moderation. And both are now looking in different ways to the government to impose rules that force platforms to do less or that force platforms to do more.
Meaning we could soon see a different social media experience depending on where we live, with new restrictions and rules.
Do you worry that freedom of speech is eventually going to be impacted as part of the effort to protect particularly younger people?
I do, because social media, even though it feels like it's so big right now, it's still growing rapidly. And if we keep up the rate we're going now, people might not be able to share anything online, or they might not feel comfortable. And that kind of makes me sad, because a lot of young people find their communities online and find like-minded individuals.
As social media approaches its 20th birthday, it's facing its own growing pains. Seemingly everyone agrees there needs to be change, but little consensus about what the change should be.
So what's the impact if states are passing individual laws and the federal government's not doing anything?
Well, experts tell us it could mean that individual phones are going to have special software that restrict usage where kids are restricted for certain uses on their phone. It basically means we're headed toward a much more regulated use of social media on phones.
Okay, thank you. Very interesting. And as Lisa's report pointed out, there's both evidence and concern about social media's impact, particularly on the mental health of young people. We'd like to note that our parent company, Sinclair Broadcast Group, is partnering with the National Alliance on Mental Illness to launch Sinclair Cares, Mental Health Support and Hope, a campaign to encourage mental health awareness with a focus on young adults. The campaign runs through the end of March. Ahead, a marked turnaround in crime in the big city in one notorious neighborhood. Crime and its impact on America make daily headlines. Chicago, high crime is cited as a cause in the election loss of the mayor. This week, the shutdown of Walmarts in Portland, Oregon, attributed to rampant theft and the impact of the company's bottom line. Some make it a red-blue issue, but in our return to the high-profile example of crime, drugs, and homelessness destroying one of America's top cities, we found it's the people, not politicians, making surprising changes. This was the scene when we visited San Francisco's infamous Tenderloin District last year at the end of a special emergency period declared by San Francisco Mayor London Breed. A short walk from City Hall, the famously gritty Tenderloin District in San Francisco was long known best for its trendy restaurants, jazz clubs, art, and historic theaters. Today, it's become infamous as an open-air market for drug dealers and users. A neighborhood so rough that our drive-by after dusk drew a violent response.
Go! What was that? What was that? I don't know. Go!
A chunk of wood hurled through the rear window of our van. In all the hours we spent in the Tenderloin, we didn't see one uniformed police officer along the most notorious strip, on foot or in a patrol car. We did see people lined up to use drugs in broad daylight, and lots of drug dealers doing business with no fear of being stopped. On our return visit this year, there were apparent drug dealers and users on the streets, but not nearly as many as before, and no open-air drug market on that infamous block where we saw so much crime in 2022. Randy Shaw, director of Tenderloin Housing Clinic, brings us up to date. After the emergency period was declared, did things change in the Tenderloin District?
No. Nothing changed in the Tenderloin at all until February 6, 2023.
What caused the changes? For one thing, Tenderloin businesses organized and signed a petition demanding their tax money back. They didn't get that, but they did get the ear of Mayor Breed.
And so I think that was sort of pushed the pressure for the mayor to finally get the police to order a crackdown. And since February 6th, the two biggest drug markets in the Tenderloin that we showed in your last show have no dealers on them. If there's dealers that show up, they're soon moved. So it's made a big difference.
Yes. Was the tipping point, in addition to the businesses, do you think tourism played a role?
Well, we had a strategy of two things. One, making it a national and international issue, which is why your shows like yours make a difference, because it's national. People around the country saying, wait, I don't want to come to San Francisco because of what I'm seeing. And also realizing it's been now accepted in San Francisco that it's not just Tenderloin stakeholders who are impacted by these drug markets. The whole city's impacted, because when people see those drug markets, they don't come to the theater downtown. They don't come to City Hall events. There's a lot of theater and community events that are suffering because people don't want to be around that.
What are some specific measures being taken?
Well, it's exactly the kind of stuff we talked about when you interviewed me a year ago. We need beat controls, beat officers walking the beat and disrupting it. And the disruption strategy has not just moved dealers a few blocks away, which everybody said would happen. There's been a slight increase in some drug markets, existing drug markets, but there's no block in San Francisco that now has drug dealers in a drug market that didn't have it before the crackdown. So the police are on board. There's a higher motivation. We have a great district attorney, and that's something we did not have when we last talked. We recalled the district attorney who would never prosecute drug cases for felonies.
Who was that?
Chester Boudin. He never prosecuted a Tenderloin felony for drug dealing. Our new DA, Brooke Jenkins, her second day in office, I gave her a tour of the Tenderloin, and she gave a public meeting in the Tenderloin and an event saying cracking down on drug markets will be her top priority, and she's lived up to that. So the difference in district attorneys is a humongous difference. And the police now are more motivated because they know if they arrest someone, they're going to be prosecuted, which was not the case with Chester Boudin.
But this is not a partisan Democrat versus Republican issue. I assume most everybody here is Democrat.
Everyone's a Democrat, and it's Democrats who overwhelmingly supported the recall and brought in. And to the mayor's credit, she appointed a tremendous district attorney. And it's such a night and day difference. It's changed the whole tone of law enforcement in San Francisco.
That DA, whom San Francisco voters recalled for being soft on crime after only about 2 years in office, was one of numerous controversial reform prosecutors backed by liberal billionaire activist George Soros. The replacement, Brooke Jenkins, is the first Hispanic woman to fill the role. After a break, what's ahead next week on Full Measure? Coming up next week on Full Measure, a major trend is what some call woke investing. That's with giant companies like BlackRock said to be forcing controversial social policies on states whose money they manage. Now, some states are fighting back.
Combined, I think there's like 7 states that have moved about $5 billion just out of BlackRock. And you'll see more and more. When we started moving money, that moved the conversation.
We'll have that story next week on Full Measure. Until next time, we'll be searching for more stories that hold powers accountable. Thanks for watching. I'm Sharyl Attkisson.